Hi, my name is Roger Schleter. This video is actually a video on which SBA program, the SBA 504 or the SBA 7A, is really better for doing real estate. The video will show you which loan is better to finance real estate, either the SBA 504 or the SBA 7A programs. The video is first giving an overview of the two SBA programs. We're going to look at the attributes of each. Well, first we're going to do the overview of the 504 and the 7A. Then we're going to do the attributes of each, starting out with amounts and then fees, interest rate, collateral, terms, and approval time. So anyway, finally, we'll go ahead and we'll tally up and do a summary and pick the best. So anyway, this is going to be probably the best overall comparison between the 504 and the 7A program on doing real estate that I've ever seen, and I have looked at several. And this information is absolutely guaranteed. You can look in the SOP. It's like a 600-page document. The standard operating procedure of the SBA, but I guarantee you this information is correct. And I went to great pains to make sure that the information was correct. So anyway, let's look at the overview. The SBA 504, it's a loan where the bank finances 50% and the bank gets a first lien. The SBA finances between 30 and 40% and gets a second lien. The borrower puts in 10%, actually 10 to 20, and usually the borrower's putting in the 10%, and usually the SBA is doing the 40. There can be reasons why that might change a little bit. The bank is always 50%. So anyway, the SBA programs are all for owner-occupied businesses, owner-occupied buildings. So anyway, you cannot use it to do an investor type real estate deal where you rent out the entire building. Now the borrower has to, on an existing building, the borrower has to occupy 51%, and they can lease out that 49%, and that's for an existing building. Now if they're building a new building, they have to occupy 60%, and then they can actually rent out that additional 40. So anyway, both programs, are that way, where you have to have an owner-occupied business. The 504 can only be used for fixed assets, and that's real estate, equipment, furniture, fixtures. So anyway, that's a kind of an overview of the 504. The overview of the 7A. The 7A loan program is where the bank lends the full amount and the SBA guarantees usually 75% of that. Smaller projects, the bank can guarantee 85%, and it has gone up to 90%. The borrower must put in 10%, as equity, just like with the 504. The 7A can be used for really any business purpose, so it makes it more versatile. 7A is a great program. They can do real estate, they can do equipment, they can do furniture, fixtures, they can do inventory, working capital. So that runs the whole gambit. Now, we also said we're going to look at the attributes of each, starting out with the amount. The SBA 504, the 40% can be $5 million, and then you tack that along with the bank 50%, and then you can do a project size of $12 million. So the SBA, their debenture is actually $5 million, they're 40%, and then when you add in the rest, you can get up to the project size can be like $12 million. The 7A, they can loan up to $5 million, and then the guarantee would be 75% of that would be $3,750,000. So anyway, that kind of goes to the 504 just because you can do a lot larger project with it. Number two, the fees. The fees for the 504 are like 2.5 to 3%, and that can be added into the loan. There is a third-party lender fee with the 504, which is a 0.5% of the bank amount, and that can be added back in the loan, but it's not really supposed to be, but it can. So anyway, that brings the fees up to like 3% to 3.5%. The 7A fees are basically 3% to 3.5%, and they can be added to the loan. The only thing is the 7A program has a packaging fee that they can charge, and all the banks charge it. So it's either going to be a flat $2,500, and they can do larger amount, but it has to be itemized, or they can do a percent. When they do the percent, it has to be 2%, 2% up to a max of $30,000. So really, it was basically kind of a wash until you talked about the packaging fee. So that one kind of goes to the 504 also. So the interest rate of the loan, the SBA is going to be SBA 504. They'll go 25 years and it's a fixed rate. And like right now, it's like at 3%, which is a heck of a deal. And then the bank portion is probably around 5%, but that is fixed for 3 to 5 years. So it gives you kind of a blended rate of 4%, and that's kind of fixed for at least the first 3 to 5 years. And then the SBA portion is fixed for the 25 years. The 7A, the whole entire loan is 2.75% plus prime. Prime right now is about 4%. So that brings you a loan interest rate of 6.75%. And almost all those are variable rate. The one reason is the bank wants to charge a variable rate because they don't have to worry about the future. If the rates go up, the rate goes up on the loan. And the bank, if they want to sell it off, they have to have a variable rate. So almost all 7As are going to be a variable rate, variable with prime. So anyway, then and so that kind of goes to the 504 too. Now, number 4, collateral. SBA 504 is only going to use the real estate being financed. Real estate being financed and then a personal guarantee. When you go to the 7A, it's the real estate finance plus anything they can get, anything on your personal financials, so and personal guarantees. So they actually usually end up with a lot more collateral than the 504. Let's go down here to terms. The 504 has basically 3 terms, 10, 20, and 25 years. Almost everybody's doing the 25 year if they can. Equipment used to be done at 10, but now it's like, it really, if you can go to the manufacturer and they say the equipment has a useful life of 20 or 25 years, you can go ahead and do it for that. So a lot of times in the past when they had just arbitrarily done equipment at 10, we're doing equipment at 20, 25 years now. So anyway, on the 7A, it's 25 years for real estate. And then you can do anything below that. And it's usually kind of the same thing. If the equipment has a useful life of larger, a larger number of years, you can do it for that. But the working capital and inventory, you can only go like 10 years. So anyway, and then if you sell it off, you do have to have you got to have a 10, 20, or 25 year term on it, especially if you're going to sell it off, because they aggregate those loans and they don't want to do the odd amounts. They want to do the even amounts. Now the last attribute is the approval time. In the 504, the loan must be approved by the bank, and then it goes to the CDC, and the CDC brings it to a local committee, a local loan committee, and they have to be approved by that. And then it goes to SBA, where it's going to be a minimum of 2 weeks, unless they screen it out for additional questions. With the 504, the CDC does not know who's working on it. It's like the man behind the curtain. Whenever you get something that says, they don't like this information or this, we need additional, it's always just from the SBA. So anyway, that's kind of weird. But anyway, that's just the way it is. I guess it speeds up things. I'm not sure. But anyway, on the 7A, the loan must be approved by a bank, of course. And then they send it to SBA, and they work with a known loan officer. The loan officer actually sends them an email with his contact information, And so if they have a problem with something, they can call him up and talk to him. So it's definitely a big plus for the 7A on approval time. You can get a 7A done in a lot quicker time period than you can at SBA 504. So anyway, let's look at the summary. I've been kind of putting it in anyway as it went. But on the summary, number one, the amount goes to the SBA 504 because they can do up to they can do their 5 million of their 40%, and then when you add the other, they can do up to a $12 million project. So anyway, a much larger project. So that goes to the 504. Number two, the fees. The fees are equal until that packaging fee is brought in. And that really blows it out of the water for the 7A. So that one also, the fees also go to the SBA 504. Interest rate. Interest rate goes to the 504. Because the rate is lower and it's partially fixed. The bank isn't fixed for as long, but the SBA is fixed for 25 years. And then the 7A is almost always a variable rate, so that does go to the 504. When we're talking collateral, the 504 is just the project only. And I've done work with the 504 and I've done it with the 7A. And the 7A, if the loan officer doesn't add an additional collateral, the SBA sometimes will. So since the collateral for the 504 is just the real estate, that one goes to the 504 also. The term, both can do up to 25 years, so that's kind of like if you're talking, blackjack, it's a push. Neither one wins or loses on that one. They're basically equal. Now we're talking approval time, and approval time does go to the 7A. It can be approved and funded much quicker than the SBA 504 loan can. So anyway, let's tally this up. We've got the 504 with basically 4 checks and maybe a half for the push. We have the 7A with 1 check and maybe a half of the push. So it's basically a 4-to-1, 4.5 versus 1.5. So obviously the SBA 504 is a much better loan for real estate. So anyway, the 504 does win that challenge between the 504 and the 7A to finance real estate. Now the 7A can be better for financing other things, and I actually have a video on how good the 7A is for doing a total business buyout. Well, that's the end of the video, and if you enjoy this kind of content, I hope you do subscribe. I hope you do ring the bell for additional videos when they come out. And if you took away anything on this, I hope you hit the like button. And thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is Roger Schlueter, and I will see you in the next video.